Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Neil Lennon has no regrets about ripping into his players ahead of tomorrow's derby. Ian Cathro says there's no advantage to Hibs being at home. And Graham Murty is calling on the Rangers players to treat all the remaining games like an old firm battle. Yep, just a few of the talking points on tonight's programme. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. I'm delighted to see our boot-room guest tonight is broadcaster Archie MacPherson. Lots to talk about. The main focus of attention has to be the Edinburgh derby. Thoroughly looking forward to this one. And it's one of those games, Archie, for the first time in a long time, where it's really difficult to call.
It is. I think Hibs obviously have the advantage of playing at home. I know the Hearts manager has played that down. Understandably, but I think more importantly, Hearts are fielding a lot of new players. They haven't been at the club all that often. That's point number one. Point number two, they're going into an atmosphere they will not have experienced for a long time. I think it's, in fact, going to be the biggest crowd, I believe, ever at Easter Road. I think they've sold out to the absolute maximum. So that might be a difficult experience for them. To acclimatise to that. The advantage is they'll be playing on a good football pitch, well, at least a better football pitch than there was at Tynecastle, and we'll find out if Hearts can play the kind of football that they certainly aspire to. Whereas Hibs, well, I'm not utterly convinced that Hibs are yet striking the right kind of balance. They have their off days, as Neil Lennon, we'll be hearing from him later. He let vent his frustration. I know Hibs supporters who were there on Saturday at Kirkcaldy and thought they were awful, in their words, came back a little bit in the second half. So you're right, Peter, it's a little bit uncertain, but I think on balance, I'm going for Hibs.
Yeah, and just picking up on that point that you mentioned there, the Hibs boss Neil Lennon says he's got no regrets about ripping into those players.
Like the players, we've got good players here who fell well below the standards that was required of them, or asked of them, or expected of them, or what they can, maintain. So I think a lot's been blown out of proportion when a manager has a go with his players. I think I was justified in doing it, and the players know that as well. So it's done now, and we're looking forward to a really big game on Wednesday night. I don't think, with the squad is light. We've only got 19 fit players, so. We may change it a little bit, but not much, I wouldn't have thought. And anyway, I've got great faith in the core of players that I have here. I'm all right, I'll probably get more excited tomorrow when the build-up starts to come around. But for me, we're the cup holders, and regardless of who we're playing, you want to prevail. It just happens to be Hearts, which adds a little bit more intensity, I suppose, because it's a derby. But, derbies are derbies, and you can never predict one. And every game's different. And I just want us to make sure that we get on the front foot and get the crowd behind us, which I'm sure they will.
I still like managers who rip into their players, Ruffy. I mean, you were of a generation where you were well and truly used to that.
Yeah, and he probably ripped into them, obviously, because they dropped 2 points at the weekend. But I think his mindset would have been on him ripping into them, because I'm letting them know that there's a Hearts game coming up, and if you don't buck up your ideas, then you're not going to be on the side. So I think it was twofold, But I think the players don't need to be motivated for this game. If you live in Edinburgh and you've got a Hearts Hibs game, I agree with Archie. I thought all the new players at Hearts that had come in there, although they are quality players, I just found they were finding it a wee bit hard to grasp what was happening at the nothing each game. Obviously that gives them an insight of what this game's all about. So I think they'll be more up for it, and I think that might be to Hearts' advantage. But I think it's just so tight to call. I think Neil said it there now. We look back at the Rangers-Celtic game where we all thought Celtic were a certainty. Rangers get an early goal, they dominate the game for 15-20 minutes, and that's the kind of things that happen in derby games. If you get that goal, you're up for it, and if you're not, you've got to fight your way back into the game.
Yeah, and of course it is tough to call, and Ian Cathro, the Hearts boss, says there's no home advantage to Hibs in this one.
I think that the biggest thing that stood out across the two games was just how the games can swing from momentum being with one side to momentum then being with the other side, and how the environment, the stadium, the fans, the one feeling positive, one feeling negative, this being loud, that there's still each team will have players in it that's maybe not lived through those situations too many times. And I think I'm talking about last year's games, that you saw things start to slip for one and go for the other. And I think what we have now is a stronger, more ready group to be able to balance better with the high of when it's going for us and what we need to do, and also to be able to deal with the situation from when you're going to have a difficult period in the game.
So the crux of Ian Cathrow's press conference yesterday, Archie, was basically he's got players now who are showing a stronger mentality game by game.
Strong, yes, but I think this will be different for them at Easter Road. I mean, Hibs, as Neil alluded to there, are the cup holders, and that will give them an even greater incentive to do something special in this game. And I think it's going to be ferocious. I think it'll be played at great pace. But I think probably, Hearts have certainly got quality players, as Alan said, so somebody could come good on that occasion. But I just feel that Hibs will just have that little extra leg in them, extra incentive in them to get a winner in that match.
Yeah, you mentioned there, I mean, it's a sellout. I think we're going back to get a crowd on a par with tomorrow night. Ruffy was a game that I was at. I remember it clearly when Hearts' Wayne Foster, there's a name from the past, came off the bench and scored the winner at Easter Road and ended up, I think, jumping up on the fence to celebrate in a 2-1 victory some 20 odd years ago. Here's how Hibs lined up at the weekend, Ruffy. I'm curious to see how he's going to line his team up, because clearly against Hearts in the cup game, because of the pitch, he threw in Grant Holt, clearly looking to go a little bit more direct. What do you make of tinkering with that team that drew against Wraith Rovers?
Well, I don't think he's going to tinker with the goalkeeper or the back four. I think they've been pretty solid in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I really like the boy Bartley in the middle. I think he just he's got a bit of presence in there. He's got a bit of strength. You always want to play Cummins. Fifey gives you a bit of dig in there as well. McGinn gives you that wee bit of quality. I think he'll go a 5 in the middle with Cummins up front. I know you've got Keaton's there who can come on and win game threes, but I think he'll go a 5 in the middle and 1 up front.
Yeah, for me, you just mentioned somebody there. John McGinn is everything you could want in a battle of this ferocity.
He's a battler. He's also a marked man, though. I noticed that players were surrounding him in the last game I saw Hibs play. So if you're a marked man, it means that you've got quality. Some players are very wary of how he can break from midfield, tenacious in the tackle, his work rate is enormous. So he's got all these qualities for the modern game. So he's a real plus asset. And I think he's a better player when he's on his game than any of the Hearts players in midfield.
Yeah, Ruffy, have a look at that starting lineup from the game at the weekend for Hearts. I think Ziolis is fitted in there with great ease. I know that Austin McPhee was telling me he was very impressed with his contribution, a class act, and Gonsalves as well.
Yeah, Gonsalves is a handful up front, you know, but as I said, the Hibs defenders, particularly McGregor, I think he's had a fantastic season. I think they'll be able to handle him. I think that the positive of that team is if Jamie Walker's not in the team lines, I think Hibs will be quietly pleased with that one. I think he's a terrific young player.
He'll play, surely.
Well, I don't know. He never played. Maybe he was saving him. You never
yeah, well,
know.
He came on as a sub and obviously missed the penalty. I just think he's one of their better players. You're talking about players that can produce something a wee bit different. He's one of them. I'm going to get you guys to give us your prediction then. Who do you think's going to win it? We've dedicated this entire half to this game.
2-1 Hibs. 2-1 Hibs, I think.
Hibs.
I'm going 1-0 Hibs.
Yep, okay, tight. No. Did you say penalties yesterday as well?
No, we were discussing that they'd been practising penalties and how they were going to go about it, the Hearts team.
Okay, so you can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy as well. Hibs against Hearts, who's going to win that Edinburgh derby? Will the cup holders be in the tournament by the end of tomorrow night, or will there be a wee bit of revenge in the air for the Jam Tarts, especially at the home of their great rivals. We're going to leave you with a question because we'll be talking Champions League football coming up after this quick break. It's Man City Monaco, and here's a player who's had a resurgence of form. Do you know the answer to this? There's the answer to our little quiz question prior to the break. Radamel Falcao, he'll be involved in the Champions League match against Manchester City. It just shows you, Ruffy, sometimes you can look completely out of it at Manchester United, goes on loan to Chelsea, not able to really get it together again. He had a phenomenal strike rate at Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, and it's amazing, you know, you get players of that quality, you find it hard to believe. I'm sure the managers of the clubs find it hard to believe he's got that scoring record. Then he comes to your club and it just doesn't work for whatever reason, particularly strikers. You know, you think a striker, you know, a lot of people say, oh, they need time, and I think quality strikers don't need time, and I think Ibrahimovic proves that. You know, he comes into the team right away and scores goals, and that's what good strikers do. But certainly he's back to where he was, and he'll be a threat. Yeah,
are Man City the type of team that you expect to be in the final of the Champions League on the 3rd of June?
Depends which Manchester City turns up. I think a key player is De Bruyne. Now, De Bruyne is one of the most technically perfect players in the business. He's superb on the ball, he controls it well, his dead ball kicks are superb, he can run, he's got pace, but he has no heart. In my view, he has no heart. When he was asked to perform in the Bernabeu a season ago in a crucial game, he just disappeared. He disappears in far too many games. If he can really get into the heart of the game and show us what skills he has, which he definitely does, then I think Manchester City have a chance. And the managers warned them about Falcao. And I think far too often Manchester City have gone out to play a game assuming that they'll win, especially in the English League. And they're finding it much more difficult because teams, especially in England, I'm not quite so sure about Monaco, know how they play and set up well against them. But nevertheless, I think they'll win this game.
Yeah. Who's your tip to win the Champions League, Archie?
I think it's wide open.
Yeah.
I think it's wide open. If Manchester City really put it together as they can, I think they would be hard to stop. But the temperament is questionable.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think it's a problem for them.
Yeah.
We saw the Celtic game, not taking anything away from Celtic, but I thought the Man City defence was poor. I don't think anybody's convinced about the goalkeeper yet, you know, in big games, and with Company not there, I think they look vulnerable. I don't see them as a Champions League final team. I've already said Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, just the mere fact that Archie looked away from you with disdain tells me all I need to know about that. Okay, listen, who are we? Bayer Leverkusen take on Atletico Madrid, who in my opinion have a manager I cannot believe he hasn't been courted with any great gusto from the Premier League in England, Diego Simeone. He's worked wonders with Atletico Madrid. So that's Champions League football. Let's get your thoughts, guys, on the Rangers situation, especially yourself, Archie. I haven't had a chance to have a right good natter with you on this. Graham Murty's saying that they should be treating every game, the remaining 13 games, as if it was an old firm battle. I'm looking at what they've got coming up here. Inverness away, then they've got St Johnstone, then the cup game against Hamilton before 12th of March against Celtic. Now, conflicting views in the papers about whether Graham Murty's going to be in charge or not. My gut feeling on it is I think Rangers should be looking to try and get a manager in prior to that, because I think it's so important to lift the players and the fans.
Well, they're in a bad mess. I mean, let's face it. I think over the last couple of months, I think since the Hearts game in particular, and then the subsequent games, it suddenly dawned on the Rangers supporters how poor a team they are. I mean, you can actually say that about Rangers now. And of course, we're judging, the parameters for that is we're judging Rangers by what they think they should be and what they actually are. And what they actually are is a middle of the order table, a middle of the table order team. And I think in that sense, although Alan points out that, you know, they couldn't really fall below 4 given the spaces in the league, I definitely think they need to stabilise themselves. And I think they have to offer their supporters something, like saying, look, we've had virtually now, Peter, when you look at it in retrospect, 2 wasted years. I mean, how on earth Rangers could have maintained the defence that they have for 2 years without knowing, after the cup final, for example, where Hibs scored 2 goals, one of which was almost chaperoned into the net by the defence. The eccentric right back was missing. The centre half just watched Stokes put it in the back of the net. And then at the end of the game, one of the smallest men in the park scores with a header to win the... Surely, at that point, you would have said, we must sort out the defence. And what puzzles me is why the Celtic manager gave Warburton such an endorsement. Yeah. I think he knows the guy and he's a nice, likeable guy and the players liked him. But I think it's 2 wasted years. And now they've got to make a decision which is absolutely right this time, because they can't afford... What has kept Rangers going is the support. You go back to the days when Annan Athletic came to Ibrox and beat Rangers. Annan Athletic, there were 40-odd thousand at the game. 2 weeks later, there were another 45,000 at the game. That has kept them going. You wonder how long they're going to put up with that with season tickets on the offing at the end of April.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. On the basis, and I don't want to rewrite history on this, but, you know, Ali McCoist was lambasted as a manager for the way he played football, where the team played football, Ruffy, but of course he was also diffusing bombs at every press conference because of what was going on in the background. Archie said it's a wasted 2 years. I mean, you look at Ali, then you look at what Warburton's achieved in those 2 years, and now they have to find someone else. I think it's got the most difficult job is trying to bridge that gap again. Here are the latest odds on the candidates. Graham Murty is at 9-4, but I don't see that happening. Suddenly, Alan Irvine is a name that's emerged. I don't know about you, Ruffy, but I don't see that exciting Rangers fans. Dougie Freedman in there, Derek McInnes, and still Alex McLeish, the favourite.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I've got with Alec is, I mean, I haven't spoken to him, but I would think if you're going with somebody with Alec McLeish's pedigree, are you going to say to him, you're just coming in for 2 months? Because I don't think Alec would wear that. You know, I think Alec would want a condition, you know, that he's going to be there long term. I mean, I think Alec will have seen what happened to Stuart McCall, who went in for a short time, and then at the end he was just emptied, you know, when he could have been given a longer chance, but he wasn't. I think this director of football thing determines what kind of manager Rangers bring in. That leads me to think it's more of a young coach, somebody who's coming up in the game with this director of coaching, overseeing whatever he's doing. But
Alan, that's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rangers supporters won't suffer what's going on right now.
You think a draw in Inverness are more points leading up. You're right, the supporters are going to get anxious. So the directors really need to come up with an idea very quickly.
Of the 5 candidates there, Archie, is there one in your mind that you think would be the sensible option?
Well, I spoke to Alec before this happened. In something I was writing, and I was speaking to him about it, and he was asking. He lives in London most of the time, and he was asking me about Rangers, and I told him the poorest defence I can think of, and you were one of the great defenders, and that is basically the biggest omission of all, that they didn't wipe out the defence and put in a new defence in the time they've had available. And he was concerned about that because you still got Rangers at heart. Yeah. So whether he would, I totally agree with him. If they came to Alec and said, look, to July and then give it up, you know, no, he wouldn't accept that.
Okay, it's going to be an interesting one. It will undoubtedly be the focus of our attention in the forthcoming days and weeks, if there are any developments at Ibrox. Just before we go, Ruffy, Wayne Shaw could be in trouble. This is the Sutton United reserve goalkeeper. because we've mentioned him on the programme from time to time. He's being investigated. There could have been betting regulations broken because he was caught eating a pie live on the broadcast. With all due respect, Ruffy, we could be up in court on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it wasn't as if it was just a wee small pie. It was huge. It was the biggest pie I've ever seen. He couldn't even, hold it with his two hands.
And it reminds me, as I'm really looking forward to going to the Edinburgh Derby at Easter Road, Ruffy. I mean, you'll remember great Edinburgh Derbies because you were hit with a pie in one of them as well.
Yeah, I was actually walking around the stadium when somebody from above shouted, "Here, catch this biggin," and I thought it was something, that I could have caught, but when I turned around it was a pie.
You've got the face.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised you weren't able to eat it as well when it was coming towards you. Anyway, listen, great to chat to Archie as ever on the programme. Thanks to Ruffy as well. Join us tomorrow again. We'll continue the build up to the Edinburgh Derby. Thanks for watching. Good night.